Hey, so in this video I'll show you guys how to create a custom user model for Django. So as you can see, I have a pretty basic Django project which contains the project directory and an app called user accounts. So over here in the models I'm going to import abstract base user and base user manager. So from django.contrib.auth.models import abstract base user and base user manager. So I'm going to create a class called user which will inherit from abstract base user, and I'm going to create a field called email. So email is equal to models dot email field, and I'm going to set its max length to 50, and this is arbitrary, so you can set it to as much as you want. And unique I'll set to true. After this I'll add is admin equal to, so this will be a boolean field, so models dot boolean field, and the default I'll set to false, and is stuff, this will also be same, models dot boolean field, and default will be equal to false. We'll add another field called is super user, and then is active, and this will be equal to true. So after this we'll add the username field, score field, which I'll set to email, so yeah, and required field will be null, so I won't add anything over here since I only have one field which I'll be using as the username, and that's already added here, so I'll leave this blank. So below this I'll add objects, which I'll add user manager. So this will help us create user instances, and below this I'll add I'll add three functions. So that'll be, first will be ref underscore str, and this can return either the primary key or the email, so I'll go with email because it's easier to debug. Above this I'll add def as perm, so that will be self permission, and I'll set the object to none, and this will return self dot is admin. Below this I'll have a function called has module permissions, and this would be having self app label, and it'll be returning true. So this concludes the user model, and so above this user model I'll be adding the user manager, so that'll be class user manager, and this will inherit from base user manager. So in this I'll create a function called def create underscore user, which will contain self and email, password, which I'll set by default to none. And just to check that if the user has filled in the parameters, I'll just type if not email raise value error, and please enter email, and below this I'll write if not password password raise value error, please enter password. So after this I'll create a variable. I'll call it user, you can call it anything. So user, and I'll set it to self dot model, and in that I'll write email, which will be self dot normalize email, and email, which is over here. So for the password you can write user dot set password, and inside this you can add the password. So this would be here, and after this you can save the user. So user dot save using self dot underscore database and finally you can return the user. So this will help in creating a normal user, but if you want to create a super user, you're going to have to add another function. So we'll call that function def create underscore super user. So most of the code would be same, so we'll just copy this and write it below. So it'll be self email password, which will set to none, and below this I'll type user, which I'll set to self dot create user, and I'll set the email to the email, password to the password. But the difference here would be that after this you're going to type user dot, you're going to change the permissions of the super user. So it will be user dot is underscore admin, which we'll set to true, user dot is stuff, which we'll set to true, and user dot is super user, which we'll also set to true. So after this we'll save the super user. So user dot save, and using self dot underscore database, db, and then we'll return the user. So that'll create the super user. So after this we'll make the migration. So python manage.py make migrations, and it's done successfully. So after this we migrated. So before that we need to tell the project that where the custom user model is, otherwise Django would be using the default one. So we'll type auth user model, which we'll set to user accounts as the app name goes, and under that user the model name. So we'll save this and we'll save this. So we'll then after this type python manage.py and migrate. So after the migration has been done, we'll try to create a super user. So we'll type python manage.py create super user, and email we'll put, so I'll put test user @gmail.com. Password will be test user 123 test user 123. And so password is too similar to the email, but I'll still continue, and the user has been created successfully. So after this we'll run the server. So python manage.py run server, and you can just copy this, and to access the admin page we can just type admin, add test user at the gmail.com, test user 123, and we can successfully log in. But the user model will not be displayed over here, so in order to do that we need to go back to the user accounts and go to the admin and type from dot models import user, and after that admin dot site dot register, and over here we just put in the user model. So we'll refresh this. It seems to be in, sorry, so this will be normal R, so we'll just refresh it. So admin, and you can see the user model is here.